your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix. This is the State of Wrestling, and that is Jake fucking DeMarco. What's going on, buddy?
I am so glad that we were able to finally meet. The universe, always against me, but I swear it just doesn't want us to work together. It does not want me podcasting. You, Joe, anybody.
It doesn't want the Spaz Phoenix podcast to get the rub. Clearly.
It doesn't. It clearly doesn't. But you know what? We're here. We're not queer. Get used to it. We're ready to go, baby. And we are flying from the seat of our pants because we have a lot to talk about.
Well, this is the thing about us not doing anything for a while is like the more we go, the longer there is to fill in. And for the record, for the audience out there, let me just tell you, we typically record on a Thursday. I hate texting Jake to be like, hey, are we doing something tonight? Because A, number one, the answer will be yes, and we'll knock out something awesome. Or B, Jake will have just gotten his ass kicked by life again and have to tell me no, he's not available, and then he's going to beat himself up. So get on Twitter right now, @CountdownEnded, and show our buddy Jake some love.
We love everybody. That's right. There's been so much great support, and you, my friend, are at the top of that list. That's why I'm here and ready to go ahead and actually, pick your brain a bit. We haven't talked since the draft, and I know that was kind of a bit of a letdown. I had been really hopeful when they announced the rules of like, oh, they're gonna make the draft actually matter because they're gonna lock the rosters, and I was like, oh, that's good to hear. No more magic rules that Vince created to try and boost ratings, where you're trading stars back and forth, and that was probably one of the most ridiculous things at that time. That and the 2 out of 3 falls matches because they didn't want commercial breaks. Oh
yeah, I remember when they didn't want anything to be missed during the commercial breaks. That was and it was like a little bit obvious. You might as well have done WWE Speed back then.
Exactly. So, I mean, a lot of failed ideas, but the draft, I think, needs to go away. I don't mind them having people drafted to specific shows, but at least the format or the way that they handle it, because so many people went nowhere, so it felt very anticlimactic. Fans were upset because champions couldn't be drafted, and I get why they want to keep them all to set shows, but you're getting
because
rid of
people
that
made such a big deal of the belt swap.
Yeah.
Last year, and oh my god, that's so silly. I'm like, it is, but it was necessary as well. And here's where I love working with my buddy Jake, because we are on the same page most of the time, and then you get the rare occasion where I'm on the complete opposite side of the coin.
Yeah.
I loved the draft this year.
I could see you loving it, though, because for most of the reasons I just said are things that you care for.
I love the call-ups.
Exactly.
I love the few changes that were made. I like the way that they got every time you get a bit of like celebrity involvement and legends making the announcement. It's like being asked to be somebody announcing a winner at the Oscars. Like, you're not winning an Oscar, but you still get a bit of a moment. There's a different conversation for a different day about the amount of hate that Bully Ray is getting, of all people these days. It's like, oh, well, he's there for a paycheck. It's like, yes, he got a paycheck for WWE for many years. Exactly. That makes a lot of sense. But I'll tell you what it did. It didn't. The biggest success, and this is me just getting into the nitty-gritty of it, it didn't necessarily change the world. It gave me a couple of call-ups that I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting Kiana James. I wasn't expecting Blair Davenport. I think those are interesting to see where they fit in. Obviously, Carmelo Hayes was all but called up anyway. Braun Breaker got moved around. Tiffany Stratton was already on the main roster. Ilya Dragunov, we kind of knew was happening after the last NXT pay-per-view. So not a whole lot of earth-shattering moves other than stuff that was already forecast. The biggest thing that this draft did, and the biggest success in this draft, was it separated the people that needed to be separated.
Yes,
you got the LWO away from Legado del Fantasma. You got Final Testament away from the Pride. You got Damage Control away from Bayley. They split up Imperium, so they put Vinci on a different show than the other two of them. Yeah. What it did was all the stories that seemed, and I'll be honest, like LWO versus Legado, I was enjoying it, but it was getting a little long in the tooth.
It was long and it was predictable, so that was, you knew Carlito was the turncoat.
The guy,
So they could have done a few things to maybe boost the practicality of that and make it a bit more interesting, but the matches were good, the story made sense, it came from a logical place, so it was fun to watch in that sense, but
it got rid of all the rivalries that we were sick of.
Yeah, and now we have two shows. You have the Judgment Day show essentially on Raw because Rhea Ripley would be the top star for the female, and you have Damian Priest as your champion on Raw.
Yep.
And then SmackDown is the Tale of Two Cities. You've got whatever Cody's doing.
And whatever the Bloodline's doing.
Yeah, exactly. And somehow eventually those will intersect again, but not.
But you know what I love though? And this is credit to like those two acts specifically. It was like that before WrestleMania.
Yeah.
It was like that before the draft. You had the Judgment Day show and you had the Bloodline show. Now you've got a completely different looking Bloodline for storyline reasons, and you've got a completely different looking Judgment Day, not only because Damian Priest is the champion, but because, Rhea's out and Dom can't wrestle right now. So both of those groups have had a change of feel to them, but they're still running their respective shows from a faction point of view.
Yes.
And you can tell, even though one of them can't wrestle right now, if you go away from the faction point of view, you've very clearly got the Cody Rhodes show and the CM Punk show.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is awesome, because, the last time CM Punk got given his own show, that didn't work out too well. So let's make one more thing that WWE can do better.
No, he kind of choked on that one, but...
People got so mad.
It's amazing how angry people got for that, but it's unfortunate.
I think the best part about that
is so good.
I think the best part about that is Pat McAfee's like enjoying being part of the dig, and it's like, yeah, not the kind of choke artist that I am. Hey, Pat, he's like, yep, that was a guillotine.
Yeah, exactly. Pat's great for those moments, and he's been chiming in. And I mean, look at the relationship that. I don't want to trash AEW. But I feel like it's all I do currently because
they give you all
them
kinds of ammunition.
They give it exactly, and they had the perfect opportunity. They were good coming out of WWE being bad. So it wasn't that AEW was great. It was that anything that wasn't WWE at that time felt good.
They started with one foot in front of the other already with that because
absolutely. So they had a support and anti-WWE fan sentiment. I mean, at that time you had the Fiend and the worst Hell in a Cell conclusion ever with Seth, and the fans chanting AEW before their debut show.
Yep.
So that was massive, and we saw the hype around it, and we know where they left off with, but. I mean, there's so many things going on at this point. And when was the last time we saw Dynamite have any type of special episode or tie-in with anything? Seth made a great point before. And you look, ever since Punk has been gone, it seems like the Warner Brothers relationship with AEW has, I don't know if I would say soured, but it certainly hasn't been strengthened. Apparently Punk was a big reason they got the $1 billion contract. I mean, that's why they called him One Bill Phil and the only non-counterfeit buck. That was the line because he was actually talking to David Zaslav.
Yep.
So it makes me wonder now, hey, is their relationship strained? Because we don't see the Shazam, Fury of the Gods, Texas Chainsaw, Level Up, Power Up, Rick and Morty super shows anymore. We're not seeing any special episodes. We see a Battle of the Belts, twice a year, but nothing else. Remember, we were getting like those little special hour shows as well besides Rampage. We're not even getting that anymore. So it really makes
you're getting a YouTube food show with Renee and Kingston and RG City. It's like meal and a match and a meal, something like that.
And that's a total knockoff of what Brandy used to do.
Yeah, well,
it fits.
when you and I'm sorry, I said this to somebody online the other day, and it's not a dig at Daniel Bryan whatsoever, but like they were talking about how much Daniel Bryan represents everything AEW is about. I'm like, let me just tell you something. Daniel Bryan is the guy that you use after you fuck up and lose CM Punk, because both companies have done it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like, I know that sounds like I'm taking a dig at Bryan. I'm really not, but it's like it does kind of put a win in CM Punk's column.
He needs neck surgery. He's going to be out for a very long time. Yeah. He has a compression of the C6, 7, and C7 to T1 nerve root. That's his cervical spine. He could be paralyzed from this shit.
Yep.
And what memorable angle or match that we got? What, the Osprey one? Okay, but besides that, anything?
But that's not an angle. That's just literally. It was great. Don't anybody get me wrong. Great match between two great wrestlers. But that's not an angle. That's Tony Khan playing with his action figures and saying, I'm going to put this one with this one today.
But how did they just announce that he's going to fight at the Anarchy in the Arena match?
Yep.
Why are they letting him if he has a serious neck injury?
They're going to do what they did with Kingston.
Yeah, they're going to job him out and have him be replaced. I don't think so. I think they're going to do a big thing in the match that takes him out, and that'll be his ability to be written off for surgery.
Yeah. I don't know.
But I wouldn't even let him be out there if he's not medically cleared to compete by your stating that he needs surgery. It's not a work.
Yep. And you got a guy that you called in early that got hit by a bus and wasn't able to climb a mountain, but he can definitely do Anarchy in the Arena. You know what I'm looking forward to, and I wasn't even thinking about it until you brought up Daniel Bryan. I am waiting for the turnabout of the fan base when AEW announces that the Garcia twins are all elite.
Yeah. And then Bryan's big, promo there is like, oh, we're only, this is for anybody that doesn't want to work one day a week. So he's reiterating what Triple H said. Now your wife and your sister-in-law are going to be in there, as you pointed out. And what? They're going to do what Soraya Page did? They're going to show up, have a little match that's terrible, and disappear? Because that's what happens to every big talent that comes into AEW. Anybody with a name, they come in white hot from all the buzz around them signing. You get 3 weeks, maybe one big debut match, and then nothing.
Yep. The only exception is going to be Mercedes, and Mercedes is going to do exactly what Trashy Skanks did in WWE. It's going to be the steamroller. It's going to be months and months and months of agonizing promos.
Yes.
And then a middling match that everybody will wank over.
She's been there for months now. She can't compete. She's not even cleared yet. We're getting closer to the pay-per-view. The build to the match makes no sense. I'm happy Willow finally said you hurt yourself, because the whole time Willow didn't hurt Sasha. Sasha fell off the goddamn turnbuckle and broke her own ankle.
Yep.
She did it to herself, so you can't even say, like, oh, you hurt me, you injured me, nothing.
And again, it's one of those, you just hate people because they're from AEW. No, I love Willow Nightingale. I would love to see Willow Nightingale. And I'm not even saying specifically WWE. Try I don't know much about MLW, but try MLW. Try going back to New Japan. Go to TNA. Maybe come to WWE. Go somewhere where somebody is going to see in her what I see in her. Like, she, like, not current day Bayley, but like the prototypical NXT Bayley. She's the next Bayley.
Yeah, she has that natural connection with the fans. She's very well liked. And it's given that kind of like sense to grow. We've seen her mature on the TV there with AEW. We watched her start off, and then fans got more into her and her hyper happy personality.
But how do you get into somebody when you only see them once every 4 or 5 weeks?
That's been the problem, and thankfully, we've seen more of other talent, on the WWE side of things, and I wish AEW would kind of start to stick to that. But that's one of the good things about the draft, is having set shows. I'm going to tune in, I'm going to see these people. Usually, if not, it might be an off week, but it's not often you're not going to see the people on that show.
No, and like you say, you could be a special exception, and when you get close to the build of a WrestleMania, when you get close to the build of a SummerSlam, whatever, you get some certain issue between somebody has spilled over. Oh my God, I can't believe this person's here tonight. If you make a big deal about the fact that they're not supposed to be there, then they're not really breaking the thing. They're acknowledging the thing.
Exactly.
Like if Jey Uso shows up on SmackDown one week to attack the Bloodline, for just an example off the top of my head, right? Like, you're not breaking the draft rule. You make a big deal of, holy shit, that guy's not supposed to be here, and it reinforces the draft rule to make him that invading element. Like, you're not going to get an invasion between Raw and SmackDown. Like, it wouldn't work.
No.
But you make a big deal about, holy fuck, that guy's not supposed to be there. The last time they did it, even Aldis and Pierce were at each other. It's like, you got to get your guys in line. This is my fucking show. Fuck off.
Yeah.
And you've got that, it's never going to be a match, but you've got like that little subtle rivalry between Aldis and Pierce that makes even that part of it believable. When Adam Pearce was running both shows, you couldn't really believe that.
It's like he can't be on Raw and SmackDown and be happy with both. Exactly.
No. I just think like a lot of people were down on it because there wasn't like a million surprises, but There's a couple people I wanted to see called up, like a Fallon Henley, like a Roxanne Perez.
Yeah, I was underwhelmed by the call-ups. Not disappointed.
I was surprised.
I was happy with who they called up. I just wish there was a few others that could have been.
I was happy with Kiana James and what's her name, Blair Davenport.
Yeah.
Because I do want, as much as I've got the people that I hope they call up X person, I also want to have I wouldn't have thought of that. Cool. Like, I want to have that as well.
Yeah.
But no, the draft did good. Any hype or lack thereof from the draft immediately got overshadowed by that show in France, though.
Yes.
Holy shit, bud. Like, I'm not a traveler, but I might travel to France for a wrestling show.
Yeah, no kidding. That was incredible to witness, and those fans did not shut up for a second. I mean, literally not a second. They sang, they danced, they cried, they laughed, they cheered everyone on. It was constant. And I can't.
That was an endurance test for the audience.
Yeah, I mean, for 3.5 hours, even the pre-show stuff too. Like, they did not stop. SmackDown, they were.
Well, did you see the press conference?
Yes.
Yeah, the press nobody shut up during the press conference, and even you see Triple H trying to not dampen anybody's enthusiasm, but sort of trying to wave them down a little bit so that people could talk.
He could talk, yeah. No one could get a word in because the fans were just.
I mean, Bayley got a huge reaction. Tiffany got a huge reaction. Bianca Belair was also there.
Yep. Jade got a really big reaction too.
Let me tell you something, bud.
And I'm happy with Jade as you get into it.
Let me tell you something, all right? Because when she was in AEW, when she first came to WWE, even when she put this super team together with Naomi and Bianca, I've been really hard on Jade Cargill. I'm on the Jade Cargill fucking bandwagon now.
Yeah.
She, everything she's done since Backlash, not only has impressed me, but has shown a huge gulf between herself and Bianca Belair.
Her AEW debut is probably one of my favorite promo segments with just how crazy it was. I mean, you got Cody out there, then she comes out and cuts Cody down, and then
you got the open mic night bitch.
Yeah, and just much of the fire, and then leading to the Shaq match. And
that's the thing that killed it for me, was because I don't really like Brandy. I wasn't on board with Cody at the time, and then you've got a celebrity in the mix. It's a lot of muddy parts to be an impressive
I was
debut.
there with you, but
and then they Rybacked her for a little bit.
For a while, and that's pretty much all they ever did with her was 50 squash matches, and then they're like, oh, we gave her a lot of time to wrestle. No, you gave her a lot of 6-second victories. She would do one move and then be completely.
But what I'm seeing now,
finished.
What I'm seeing now in her is what everybody tells me is there with Bianca Belair.
Yes, she's competent. She's smart. She shows different sides to herself.
Yep.
Same thing as Willow too. You're not always seeing her just happy. Willow cut a serious promo, as where Bianca. She gets her ass beat. She loses at she loses at WrestleMania or some big show, and she comes out skipping with the braid twirl, and that drove me nuts. It didn't.
But here's the thing with Bianca, right? And this isn't going to turn into an entire section bashing her.
No.
But the whole thing that I find with the hair thing is stupid. I'm not going to get off of that one. But I'll put that on the back shelf for a second. They keep telling you over and beating you over the head with how she's this all-conquering babyface, right?
Yes.
But all of her mannerisms and all of her tics and all of her behavioral shit screams heel.
Yes, that's the thing.
And here's my point. And what I said coming off of Backlash, I said, okay, Bianca Belair is clearly a better wrestler. Bell to bell, she's clearly a better wrestler than Jade Cargill now in her development. And I'm not saying that as a dig.
No.
Everything else, Jade Cargill blew her away. Jade Cargill and her standing side by side, she looks like she's in Jade Cargill's shadow. Yeah. Jade Cargill has more star power. She has more presence. The introduction, yes, it's very, very similar to AEW, so I guess we'll tip a hat a little bit. Yeah. But the way they present her, the way they have her enter the arena with that statuesque type of entrance.
Yeah, and she's a superhero.
And she's got that. And see, I don't want to say superhero, because to me, superhero leans a bit into the, what they almost did with Neville, the cringy side of it.
Well, I get your point.
But I know what you mean. In the way that you mean it, yes. but she comes out there and she comes in there like with a positive chip on her shoulder. Like, because she knows what some people have said about her lack of experience, etc. So she comes in there with something to prove, with the attitude of like, hey, I got a couple of things that I can do, and watch me do them. And she looks like she gives a shit. And I'm sorry, maybe it's just by comparison. Maybe I'm extrapolating a little bit, and I'm open to that possibility. Bianca Belair, in France, in front of that crowd, both in the match and in the press conference afterwards, looked like she could have given a shit.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, how?
How is this not the best thing that's ever happened to you? Look at Randy Orton. He was in tears.
Yeah.
In tears because he said he never had a crowd sing his song.
People singing voices was like it's one thing when you're there, but it's another thing to get the oh shit, something's actually happening here.
Yeah.
Feeling over the TV.
For me to get the goosebump feeling on TV is very rare, and to have that set in is like, wow, this is magical.
And
this
you'll notice something too if you go back, because I didn't notice it the first time because I was obviously watching. Both with him and with Cody, they cut the music, and the crowd gave them a whole next verse.
Yeah, they continued. They did the chorus, the verse, all of it, all on their own.
It was freaking awesome.
Cutting out the volume and letting people do that was incredible.
This is the thing with WWE as a whole right now. You can point out individual awesome things that are happening, but right now, WWE, cheesy as this is going to sound, WWE is a feeling right now.
Oh, yeah.
I've gone from, and I'm going to compare to AEW because, I've had a up and a down with AEW, right? WWE went from... it's cheesy, but I'm a wrestling fan. I like wrestling. Maybe something good will happen. To 50-50, oh, I guess that was a Triple H call. I guess that was a Vince call. To, hey, this is mostly good. I guess I can kind of overlook one or two cheesy things. To, okay, everything seems like it's pretty good, but I'm worried that the other shoe is going to drop. To, I'm not worried about the other shoe dropping anymore. To now, the point they're at now, where most of it's awesome, and most of it's awesome enough that I don't care if the other shoe drops on something, because it will no longer affect it will no longer affect the overall thing.
Exactly.
AEW on the other side, I was like, okay, this is somebody that's come up. Clearly, if you want to get yourself noticed right away, you're going to take a shot at WWE. Fine, cool, a little bit of friendly competition. You have a little bit of that, Coke versus Pepsi, my drink tastes better than your drink.
But it just feels like such a blueprint thing to do at this point.
No, but in the beginning, I thought that could be fun. Because it was like, remember when TNA said
early
they
on
were going to go head to head with WWE, and we're like, oh, that's adorable. And you pat them on the head a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But then you get from that to like, okay, these guys are kind of dicks. I'm glad that I can still see some of my favorites that, aren't in WWE anymore, and they're doing stuff somewhere else. To, okay, the people running the place are clearly assholes, but I'm still going to tune in and support the people I like. To, man, this show actually looks like it's going downhill. It's going to be really unfortunate if it, ends. To where I'm at now, I don't want anybody to be out of a job, but if the company, the corporate entity of AEW falls down, I don't feel bad.
No.
Because the people that like you and the people that don't like you are both telling you what you're doing wrong.
And to make 2 points really quick, one of the things that I wish WWE would do is go back to producing memorable music, because you hear everybody singing Randy Orton's theme, but then you hear so many others come out, like a Logan Paul, where it sounds like a knockoff Nirvana hit, and it's just you're not going to have people chanting and not everything needs that OAO moment either. The CEO chant really bothers me because it's piped in. Same thing with the Osprey's chant. Osprey. It's edited in. You don't need, the audience is going to do it. You shouldn't have to have the cues there for the audience.
I do agree with you, but not necessarily on the two examples you just used. I like Osprey's theme. I think Osprey's theme is a banger, as far as entrance themes go.
I love his music. I just don't like that they added the Osprey.
And the Logan Paul thing is, the Logan Paul music is totally guilty of being like generic Rock 5.
Yeah.
But for his character to come out like that and just
it fits.
It fits, and it's as annoying as he is. It's like Jericho purposely trading his music in for some more annoying music with the voiceover at the beginning, because that's kind of a dig at Def Rebel, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So, like, people having bad music, I think, like, this isn't the way the world is, right? But I think everybody that shows up in WWE should have, like, shitty, generic music to begin with. No pyro, no nothing. Just come out and do your stuff. And, like, your presentation should grow with your popularity. I think that, like, that...
It can. I mean, sometimes you need that presentation to make them popular, though. I mean,
but then you get into people that, like, lean on it. You know what I mean?
Oh, like, it goes both ways quick, no doubt. Yeah, there's always too much and too little of everything, thus the problem. But
all right,
I mean,
so no WWE is kind of doing okay at the moment.
They're doing very well, and no, it's not perfect, but it's my biggest complaint with WWE. I mean, music is just a side thing. If I was going to pick anything besides silly controversies, would absolutely be that they cool down all of their champions after Mania. And I'm not the only one to say it. Sith brought this up, so has others. I mean, you get out of Mania, and AJ was a good opponent, but they didn't make it a good feud, really. He never seemed like a credible threat to Cody.
That's what I will say, too, right? Like, with Backlash, start to finish, was an amazing show, an amazing crowd. The wrestlers clearly fed off of it.
Yes.
I think I don't think it was bad by any stretch of the imagination, but I feel like everybody that I listened to was a little bit higher on Cody versus AJ than I was. Like, everybody else is saying it's great, and I'm saying it's really good.
Yeah.
I don't know where you sit with that. Like,
I thought
people are saying like early candidate for match of the year. I don't.
No, I wasn't there. It was really good.
Yeah,
but it wasn't.
It was sort of exactly what I expected from them, from a match where you know who's going to win.
Exactly.
Let's be real
we know
about
what
that
AJ
as well.
can do, and I was curious to see if they were going to pull any DQ trickery or anything of the sort, but
they didn't do any of the. People thought. Sorry, I totally lost my train of thought there. They didn't do the Wyatt 6, which is still on its way in. We did get an addition to the Bloodline that is not the addition to the Bloodline that everybody thought we were going to get.
No, we thought we were getting, Jacob coming in, and instead we get, Tongaloa.
Yeah.
And you got Tama Tonga snarling like a beast on SmackDown, and whatever that hyena noise is.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. And I'm actually curious to see if what some of the early plans come to fruition. One of those things being discussed was that Cody would be teaming up with the former Bloodline members as a fourth to help out in a, either not the
probably War Games. Let's be real.
Yeah, and because you'll have Jacob join on the new Bloodline side. A lot of people thought that he would go with the Usos, but I don't see that happening. I
wouldn't mind it being Cody, but it wouldn't be my first choice because Roman obviously is going to be face when he comes back. Listen to the reaction he's getting while he's not even there. But I wouldn't mind Cody being in there. But honestly, if you want to retell the story of what Roman has lost by losing the Bloodline, you go back to the Bloodline story and you get Jimmy, who never really stopped like worshiping him, who he's going to sort of like pick up from the sidelines, and then you're going to see him reunite with Jay. That's going to be a cool moment. He's going to get a yeet and it's going to be fine. And you gotta throw Sami Zayn back in there. I know Sami Zayn's doing his own thing right now, but like, if you want to make that story make sense, you build up the entire Bloodline. One of them takes advantage of your one bad day at WrestleMania and builds himself an entirely new Bloodline. And Roman needs to go in there and say, like, no, this is the Bloodline that you walked away from. Copy of a copy is not quite as sharp as the original. Now, you've got all your newest characters on the new Bloodline, so you can't completely bury it.
Exactly.
Either, which is a neat thing to play with. But my thing is, right now, where I will point out a bit of a loophole, even though it's not a huge deal. Solo Sikoa took over the Bloodline from Roman Reigns after Roman Reigns failed to beat Cody Rhodes. So why is Cody Rhodes not Solo Sikoa's like target number one?
You would think.
Like, I know obviously because they're not going to put Solo in a title story yet. Like, that's the practical like breakdown reason for it. But in the story, they got to say, oh, well, I was going to focus on that, but I thought I would beat up LA Knight and Randy Orton for a little bit because it sounded like a fun thing to do. I don't know. But that's it. And then you got Damian Priest on Raw teasing the face turn that he's going to do because he's not letting the other guys. He's not letting the other guys double team his opponents, which is kind of a.
He wants to win as a credible champion, which is cool. You know,
which
nice
is kind of cool.
Different.
But also he's like when they bring in Carlito, when Dom brought in Carlito, I was like, don't fuck up the Judgment Day like this.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like,
I see what they're getting at, you know.
But I can see where his response was like, okay, you helped us out tonight, but you know the guys can hang out with you if you want, but just stay out of my way. Like he's telling the group what to do, and at the same time telling the group he doesn't really give a shit what they do.
Exactly.
Which is as a character is kind of an interesting line to walk. Like, listen to what I say, but I don't care what you do. And all right, this guy's gonna hang out whatever the fuck, I guess.
Yeah.
I will say, as far as the Judgment Day goes, I do like the fact that they're getting a tag team title shot soon, and I do like that we've finally gotten to the tag team combination of Finn Balor and JD McDonough.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that would happen eventually. Yeah. So thankfully,
there's the whole teacher-student thing that's been touched on enough times, and they're the ones. I mean, you don't have to have a tag team partner that has the same style as you, but there is a certain type of tag team that works because they're the same style, and I think that'll be all right. And Dominic Mysterio, I don't know what they do with him until Rhea Ripley comes back. Honestly.
Yeah, no kidding.
Becky Lynch has the title while Rhea's gone, which is
it looks like they're going to have him and Liv do a little thing, which leads to Rhea making her return. So we'll see what comes of it. But
yeah, no, but the whole landscape it's very okay, and we're guilty sort of oh well, it doesn't feel like WrestleMania season because WrestleMania is over, and it's like, well, of course it doesn't because it's not WrestleMania anymore. Like we're in a building. What do you want to call it? Like a building phase.
Yeah.
And
things are building upwards.
In the meantime, while we're building, we're just knocking out these ridiculous international shows I'm going to run down the list once again, but like Puerto Rico, Australia, Saudi Arabia, France, Berlin, Scotland, up here in Canada. Just
going
saying,
worldwide.
I got my tickets. Just saying. We're gonna get Jake up to Canada one day. That's what's gonna happen.
That would be great.
All right. So,
I mean, I mentioned it briefly before, but you know, I wish they would have split the King and Queen of the Ring. I'm not. I don't. It sounds like I don't want the women not to have their own stuff. I just hate that it always has to be the same night.
Yeah.
You know,
I can see that.
I understand some of it, but like, because when you have two of everything, it just really waters down both of them, and then you're limited on what you can do with one because the other one usually involves someone, something, an angle, a move, whatever it might be, and it just never seems to work out the way you want it to, sadly.
Well, what it does for the people, and I'm not going to lie, I don't know where I fall on this, but for the people that want King of the Ring to go back to being a one-night tournament, you're never going to have it while there's two.
No,
not on the same night.
It wouldn't work, and it would.
You'd be there all day.
Exactly, but I wouldn't hate it if they did it. You know, halfway through the year we got King of the Ring, and then halfway through the year again we have Queen of the Ring, and you just fill it in with a men's title and a women's title, vice versa. You know, and
see, honestly, I got a lot of hell for this. That's what I suggested for the Rumble.
Yeah, I remember that, and I think that would have worked better.
Do the men's Rumble leading up to WrestleMania, the women's Rumble leading up to SummerSlam, and then, to be fair, you swap them, and then the next year's Royal Rumble leading into our women's Rumble leading into Mania, and the men's Rumble leading into SummerSlam. Because what that would also do, if you follow the dominoes down the line, it would also make SummerSlam feel bigger.
Yeah, I mean, it would give you that twice a year feeling instead of once, but...
Something I suggested on another show, it may or may not have been a What Culture live stream, was if they're going to do international shows, and they're going to go to the UK, eventually they want to go to Wembley, right?
Yeah.
Like, eventually they want to replace that flag with their own flag.
Yep.
How about, because most pay-per-views are just Raw and SmackDown branded, right?
Yeah.
How about a Raw, SmackDown, and NXT branded
that would be great.
Two-night SummerSlam in Wembley Stadium?
Think about it. It would be massive.
We would definitely outdo the supposed population of All In.
83,000, yeah.
Yeah, 91 that was really 83, that was really 73.
Yeah, it just kept going down by 10,000. Will Ospreay's reaction, I got it tattooed on my arm, what the hell?
Well, Will Ospreay chose the wrong company to begin with, so he's not one for making good decisions. And then he decided to have a pop at Triple H. I'm sure that will work out well for you.
Exactly. And then on top of it, he didn't even actually get a chance to really say anything about him. So, I mean, Triple H didn't even really say anything about him. He just kind of inferred that, hey, anyone that doesn't want to work more than once a week, I didn't want them anyways. So.
Well, that's the thing. Like, Triple H is okay. I can understand people that will get defensive to the comments that Triple H made. That's fine. I think they're relatively reasonable. But if you took umbrage with his statement, I can at least have that conversation. I can't have that conversation when somebody says, well, he was definitely talking about Ospreay. I'm like, no, there's a lot of people that have complimented AEW on the light schedule, and a lot of people that, if that's their attitude, would not have lasted in WWE. Because
Daniel Bryan just cut a promo last night about that, saying, oh, the fucking elites only want to work once a week, and he's like, God forbid I bring that up, though. So he's even saying it in a promo and storyline.
Yeah. But it's the thing, though, like, Triple H, and even Vince back in the day, I know you're not supposed to mention Vince, but, like, he says we're not like other companies. We're doing more. We're going more places. We're filling more nights. We're filling more arenas. If you want to work once a week, and this, I don't even think this is necessarily a negative thing. If you want to work once a week, WWE is not the place for you, because there's more than 1 day a week worth of work to be done in WWE.
Exactly. And people are often doing both, and people think, oh, well, you're only on Raw. Yeah, but they're doing 2 to 3 house shows as well.
Like, okay, take a look at somebody that I really, really enjoy, like Britt Baker, right?
Yes.
The whole idea that
seen in what 6 months?
Yeah, there's that.
Is she even injured? I don't think she is. I have no idea at this point.
At one point, there was an interview that she did was that part of the reason she took time off was literally in response to all the other women's wrestlers saying that she gets too much time. But I'm like, I don't know, that she's been gone a long time now. My point being is, what does she do outside of wrestling?
She's a dentist, and
exactly. So
she's time job schedule.
She's a medical professional. Like, that's a whole other full-time job.
Exactly.
She probably shouldn't go work for WWE. Not saying that I wouldn't love to see her in WWE, not saying that she doesn't deserve that kind of spotlight, because I think she does. But literally, WWE and the size of the WWE workload, which is what Triple H was talking about, doesn't work if you want to work 1 day a week.
No.
If you want to work 1 day a week and you've found somewhere that's going to let you do that, be it in AEW or TNA or whatever, then you have found the company that fits what you need. WWE won't be able to fill that for you. And that's a reality check.
No, and
a reality check isn't always a bad thing.
They're not getting better with in AEW because they're not. If they show up Wednesday and they're not wrestling, they might not be working at all for weeks and weeks to come. So I mean, it's hard to go ahead and say that's not a fair statement when sometimes you're only working a day a month.
Yeah.
At times.
And see, then you get into the other side of the coin where somebody that's working less, are they working less because it's what they are able to do at the moment, or are they working less because nobody's giving them anything to do? And that's a comment that can go for both companies.
No, it certainly can, and that's the thing though. At least WWE, they're letting people get trained in house show environments, so they're having like Tiffany Stratton had 3 matches this week, even though she lost on TV. She wins against Naomi in the house shows, and she's continuing her feud with the media and wrestling fans alike.
Yep. And I mean, look at Punk and Drew. Neither one of them can wrestle right now, but they're still keeping the story going. Look at the people right now that aren't being used on the main roster, but they're being cycled through NXT. You got Gallows, you got Anderson, you got Natty, you got Baszler, you got Ivy Nile was down there for the qualifiers, and Ivar, who's apparently injured, which is super unfortunate.
He's just taking time off. I guess it's a work, but
yeah. I don't know. I've heard both, so
I've heard both as well. But
for the hell of it, I hope he's doing okay. How about that?
Exactly. No matter what, hope he's doing good.
Yeah. But like you've got stuff where you're still doing stuff on house shows. The people that really aren't being used at all are being cycled down to NXT to offer something to some other people, and like there's work there,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
if you are somebody who wants to work 1 day a week and spend the rest of the time at home, you've got loved ones, you've got kids, you got whatever, which is valid, by the way, but it may not work with WWE.
No, that's not driving from territory to territory, working multiple nights a week like it used to be either. I get that. I get times have changed. But my point with it was people aren't getting a chance to get more experience. If you're not seeing them on TV, then they're not doing anything at all. Yeah. And that's a huge, huge disservice to most of the talent, because now people aren't getting, never mind no TV time, but they're just not getting used at all.
Well, so and they don't have house shows.
That's what I'm saying. So they have a whole month of doing nothing, and you may not see them on TV again.
Yeah. And I mean, let's be real. They're all athletes. They're all keeping themselves in shape, but it's not the same as being in ring shape. Every wrestler has said that in one way or another. Like, you can spend every day at the gym, but if you're not getting your time in the ring and you're not getting your time in front of people, you're going stale in a certain way of being. Anyways, I just think it's ridiculous. Like, for Triple H to sit there and say, hey, maybe we're not for you, could be depending on who the wrestler is, could be the best piece of advice that that wrestler ever gets.
Exactly.
Maybe they find themselves a really good gig on TNA. Maybe they, dip into New Japan or do some Ziggler type stuff where he's kind of bouncing all over, whatever. Maybe, and I'm saying this as a WWE fan, WWE ain't the only place out there.
No, it's not.
So it's not like I don't get how this became a dig, and the fact that he never mentions anybody by name, but we know he was definitely going for Will Ospreay. And I hate having this conversation because I don't dislike Will Ospreay. I think Will Ospreay is awesome. I am bummed that we didn't get him in WWE.
I am as well. I like him.
I'm telling you, man, Will Ospreay versus Logan Paul is a match I need to see.
That's I'm telling you, I was upset that we didn't get him to come over with us, because I like Will Ospreay, and when him and Ricochet had that match, that fucking Vader tore apart. Remember, it was the bout where they opened up and they basically did 90 seconds of acrobatics where they flipped over each other, and so many people were against that back then. And this isn't wrestling.
But you got to believe as well, they're doing that type of thing exactly for the people that hate that kind of thing. Exactly. They're trolling a little bit, and you know what? I don't exactly mind that. Troll. I mean, we all troll somebody. It is what it is.
No, you're absolutely right.
But I mean, to be honest, and again, it's not like a really, really boastful thing, but it's a very realistic thing. WWE is in that position now where they can offer somebody an opportunity, and that person can say no. Even if it's somebody like a Will Ospreay, and they'll say, all right, cool, you don't want that opportunity, somebody else will.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't get how that blew up into this massive bit of aggression from Triple H.
Why is that a negative, that people have more places to work and that they have more?
Isn't that the whole reason AEW is supposed to be praised? Because they gave somebody somewhere else to work.
All the things that Tony originally stood for, he's gone off against. He's not a hypocrite, but maybe you could say everybody changes from who they are.
I don't know. He said he was never going to be an on-screen character.
He said that. He said that he would never fire anyone that's in contract. He's done that. He said that he would, and we've seen it time and time again. I can go down the line and give you dozens of examples of Tony said, and it happens the other way. And it's but if you flash back to when I was on Joe's show and starting to come around yours, at that point in time, the 18-19 era, and you look at what we were getting, WWE was abysmal. How many times did I say, I am not watching if I wasn't doing this as X job or form of payment, or, I just can't find any entertainment in it lately. It's just, it's
that's okay, and that's the one benefit of me never making a dime doing what I'm doing. This is purely hobby for me, right?
Exactly.
And as much as I loved Black and Gold NXT, there were nights where I just got to the end of the episode and I'm like, guys, there's no review tonight. I've got nothing to talk about.
Exactly.
When you consider how highly I thought of Black and Gold NXT, you and I based all of our conversations at one point on Black and Gold NXT and how it's the awesome thing that nobody's really talking about until they were.
Until they put it live and did it to compete with AEW and bastardized themselves. They shouldn't have gone to 2 hours, and they shouldn't have gone to live TV. They were working. I mean, live may not have been the worst thing, but the 2 hours was really a killer for their brand.
I didn't mind it because you can keep the same morals and mentalities that put your show together and make it 2 hours and just give us 2 hours of that. And then
I think eventually they got there. They got there after the 2.0 rebrand slowly started to fade out. They really got into the format of, hey, we can do a 2-hour show like we used to do an hour show.
Yeah.
Now they're doing it, open with a segment, have their opening bout, then another, talking segment, then your main event. They've got that kind of layout going now where it fits. But it took them a long time to get that because not only
I think right now they've got it in such a way where there's absolutely goofy, and then there's absolutely awesome wrestling, and there's a big thick line down between the two of them. Okay, we're doing this now. Okay, we're doing this now. But I'm sorry,
they don't really cross goofy with the serious either.
Right up until the day that they crossed over into that like Splatter Paint 2.0, whatever it was.
Yeah,
I was with them. And everybody's like, "Oh, it got really, really serious." I'm like, "Yeah, wrestling can be serious if you want stupid stuff." At that point, if you want to watch stupid stuff, watch Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, and that's what we had at that point. It was just constantly stupid, so there wasn't really anything of merit going on. There weren't any great feuds, and a lot of times...
And the thing about it was, too, at that point is, we just finished talking about the draft. It feels like 20 minutes ago now. Back then, Black and Gold NXT, somebody getting called up felt like a funeral.
Yes. You were like, oh my goodness, look at Karrion Kross. I mean,
oh my
God. They had him looking like a BDSM model by the time he was done there, and just what a terrible waste of talent, and I mean, and they still haven't found the right thing for him. I mean, this is better.
I'm going to say what I said in our last pod. Karrion Kross and the Final Testament, like all the members together, it feels like it's gonna be awesome as soon as they figure it out. It's the same as the new finishing maneuver that he is using now. It looks like a really cool move that he hasn't quite figured out yet.
And not everyone knows how to take it.
Well, that's true too. But he was trying to. Yeah. I think last time we talked about it, he was trying to do it on Bobby Lashley, which isn't the easiest thing to do in the world. Let's be real.
No,
because Bobby Lashley's a fucking tank himself.
He's just a literal, human
boulder.
Piece of sheet metal. Yeah. There's
so no the same way he's trying to figure out that move, I think this group is still trying to figure out what it actually is. But it's one of those. It'll be awesome as soon as it figures itself out.
Yeah,
and plus I'm biased. Too. I like the groups that are kind of like that have that harder either goth or supernatural or rocker type of edge to them. That's my cup of tea.
That's my forte. I love the Ministry, I love the Brood, and then you go on from there, and it's like.
But I mean, it's like one of those like, who do I love? Like, she's injured right now, but Shotzi Blackheart.
Yep.
If you threw Shotzi Blackheart in Karrion Kross's group,
she'd
fit right in. And what's funny is her and Scarlett and Karrion Kross are all really good buddies in real life. If you see them on Instagram, they're all chill, and they're all wearing each other's merch anywhere they go, which I think is really cool to see. All right, so let's go. Seeing as we're talking about really awesome women of WWE, we're going to switch topics because we are this far into the podcast, and I'm actually going to hit my first bullet point. Now, speaking of the awesome women in WWE, who's the newest young upstart in WWE that we all really like?
It's
on the women's side.
I don't know. It's got to be Tiffy time.
Tiffany Stratton, right? So let's make sure we cancel her right away, right?
Yeah, let's get her out of here. Send her right back to the unemployment line. How dare she make a joke that somebody else made?
Yep.
And she just shared.
So Tiffany Stratton. Somebody on X, or I don't know whether it was Instagram or Reels.
I think it was Instagram. They shared a reel that they made.
They shared a reel that was her. Shared. It was her knocking. I'm gonna get this wrong, but it was her getting thrown into the corner and knocking Jade Cargill off of the apron to the floor. It's like 5 seconds, right?
She gives her a rough, right hand and sends her flying off the turnbuckle. Basically,
they've dubbed sound over it that's clearly not her voice. Where she basically calls her a black bitch, right?
Yeah.
So all the people that hate Charlotte and all the people that hate, Scarlett and all the people that hate Alexa Bliss and all the people that hate Trish Stratus. They're not connected by anything at all. They all got together and they're all like, oh my God, what's she going to do about this? WWE should get rid of her right away. Look what she's inspiring. And I'm like, it's clearly not her.
Yeah,
it's clearly not her. Like, there's people on the media right now that are referring to her as MAGA Barbie.
Oh, God.
First of all, here's a wild idea. How about you don't take away somebody's livelihood because you don't like who they may or may not be voting for? Just a wild concept. Second of all, she didn't say it. A fan made it. But exactly. You seem to be hating on her for some very superficial, I would say, identity politics reasons. Stroking my chin very hard.
I don't know. Who could it be,
Yeah.
And that's
the best.
That's the thing, though. I mean, literally, she goes ahead and she shares this, and it's a whole just nothing burger. It shouldn't be an issue. And thankfully the reporting as it's been so far is that she's not experiencing any heat backstage for it.
Actually, I just had the link up and I just lost it, so you're gonna have to give me a second. Keep talking.
No worries, but yeah, I mean, we've seen her, and the last reaction we had was her losing the Queen of the Ring tournament, and everyone feels like, oh, that's it, she lost, therefore she no longer is going to be able to. No, of course she was going to lose to Belair. We knew Bianca was going to move on. We'll see what happens. But
the thing about that was it wasn't so sure, because apparently there were renders on the original. What do you want to call it? Like the bracket graphics,
yeah.
Where they all are, and the renders for herself and Lyra Valkyria were both in like outfits that were full body covering.
Yeah.
Like that were like full sleeved, like right up to the neck, and very not what Tiffany Stratton usually wears. So
yeah,
a lot of people were saying that was a bit of a spoiler, that the final was going to be Lyra and Tiffany. So it might have been.
It could have been.
Like she might have been pooched on Friday for this.
You never know. I mean, but they Instagram, they showed a clip of her backstage going on, be like, I'm not going to be queen anymore. I'm so pissed, and she's all mad. And so it seems like they're still promoting her. They're still sharing her on social media, so they're not mad. Or else they would have just had her probably get squashed and be done. I mean, is it shocking? It could be a bit, the loss, but I think it's not going to hurt her in the long run. She's had a few losses, but I didn't expect her to win, a month after Mania to capture the title or to go ahead and immediately be Queen of the Ring. But I think she might get the Money in the Bank.
The other thing that I saw that was really fucked up was and this was on Twitter, and it was shared around a couple of times, and the whole idea was, if they're not going to fire her, at least send her back to NXT. And I'm like, okay, let me break that down for a second. First of all, don't fire her because she didn't do anything wrong. Go fuck yourself. Second of all, getting sent back down to NXT isn't a punishment. It's not like NXT is a prison.
Exactly.
Third of all, she doesn't need it. She's fantastic in the ring, and she's already over with the audience. So sending her back to NXT is only going to take a spot away from somebody that needs it.
But see, that's it. People are using NXT as you said, as a punishment, as a prison to take you away from TV time on the main roster.
Yeah.
So they're saying, oh, well, we'll send you back to NXT. This way you're just not on the main roster, is their thought.
Yeah.
But that's not the point of NXT. That's not what it's for. I mean, if you were going to say that, send her to the Performance Center, I mean, yeah. I guess that would be the better effect.
Here's the... I can use my own words, but I will use the words of No DQ and Mike Johnson representing PW Insider. He gave his take on the situation. After speaking to several credible sources we are told that she's absolutely not in trouble for anything internally with WWE, and that Stratton's been nothing but praised by management and other talents since moving to the main roster a few months back. Despite the rumors, we are told that Stratton's status within the company is unchanged, and she remains on good footing as she's seen as somebody with a very high upside by management. So sorry, cancel culture, you don't get to take this one.
Nope. She's been fine. Like I said before, it seems like there's no real heat. I don't think she lost the match because of this. I don't think that was planned that way. I mean, maybe they early on did have her winning, but I don't think that she lost the tournament because of anything that transpired.
I think they're... in all fairness, and this isn't WWE's fault, I think just knowing how the world is right now, considering the whole video thing that was released, like I say, again, not said by her, but the comment that was overdubbed on it was racially charged. I think they would have rethought it only from a perspective of, okay, she's got a match this week with Bianca.
Yeah.
Let's not put any more kerosene on the flame. Like, not necessarily a punishment, but let's not create a further, which itself is kind of bad, because you shouldn't have to think about shit like that. If you have a direction, go with it. But I can kind of see in WWE's case, like, why they'd be stuck between a rock and a hard place with that. I lost the quote, so thanks for filling the dead air while I went searching.
Hey, I got you. But no, I mean, that is the case in point. But if it was actually something, like you said, racially charged, motivated, if she did it and singled her out for being black, then I would want her removed. No fucking doubt about it. That would be. But that's not what was done here. It's a
fan edit.
I know, but the point of the black bitch thing comes from, obviously, the spoken word rap that they did. They did a rap battle, basically. It was like a poetry off. And it's actually just become like a meme on TikTok and stuff. That's all it was. It's something simple.
I just hate the fact that something else was projected onto her, and then that thing that she thought
was funny. It was supposed to be. True racism exists. I actually sent you a photo yesterday or the day before of a skinhead with the license plate W1 Lightning Bolt KKK.
Yep.
And that was not an exaggeration. They were driving in front of me, blaring their racist country music, and have their flag in the front of the truck. It's not like.
But you don't want to think that some asshole. You don't want to think that some asshole like that out there is a silly issue like this one is a silly issue, because they're very different.
Exactly.
They're like it's.
And I'm not, but that's the thing. Real racism exists out there. So to trivialize it with these things makes it feel so insignificant and so.
Well, it's the same thing about as not to be real for a second, but like it's the same thing as when Me Too kicked off and all the fake allegations kicked off, and it's like all you're doing is hurting people that have actually been victims of stuff.
Exactly.
If this was a real thing of racism, like even if she did say it at a live event while she was knocking thing off the apron, I'd be like, what? She's probably in character, but still, you're a fucking idiot. Why would you say that? But this was done to her image after the fact by a fan with an editor on their computer that has probably not seen sunlight in 5 years.
Yeah, but also thought it was funny. They didn't do it to be. It wasn't done to be a racist point. Like, so that. The fan apparently said to whatever No DQ, whatever website that shared it, that they were only trying to make something funny. So it's like, because the fan that made it got death threats too.
Nice, fantastic, because that's how we solve things.
Exactly.
Speaking of stupid apologies and people who should not have to apologize for anything ever, I'm not even a fan of Nia Jax.
No.
But this is fucking dumb. When she had her match with Jade Cargill, we just praised the hell out of Jade Cargill. I think we've made it perfectly clear where we stand on Jade Cargill. Mm-hmm. Jade Cargill versus Nia Jax in a qualifier for Queen of the Ring. Now, I will say, the end of this match, the way they ended this match was a little bit of a cop-out ending. Jax goes for a chair, Jade blocks it, Jade uses the chair herself, gets herself disqualified, Nia Jax moves on. The match ending wasn't great, I'll admit that. But the funniest thing was Jade Cargill's daughter, as she's been seen more than a couple of times now, was at ringside cheering on her mom, all that kind of thing. They had a moment against the barricade, and she knocked down Jade, and Nia Jax screamed in the kid's face, "Your mom sucks!"
Yeah.
And then the kid's like but the kid was like right into it. It's like, "No, she doesn't. Get her," like this, right? Super fun. Kind of reminded me. I mean, it wasn't her daughter, but it kind of reminded me of the Bayley, Sasha Banks, Izzy thing in NXT.
Yes.
I was like, that was really cool. Like, somebody's not going to like it, but it's really cool. But yeah, no, apparently Nia Jax came out with this big paragraph apology on social media for anybody or any other children that she might have scared and all this type of thing. And I'm like, God damn. These people on social media are going to make me stick up for people I don't even like.
Yeah, I mean, you can't like or dislike anything. It seems like you have to.
Yeah, no, but it's not
everything is racist and everything.
Yeah, Yeah. But it's one of those things where it's like if I came up here and something was happening to a Shotzi Blackheart or a Rhea Ripley or whatever, right? I would understand it if somebody came back to me and said, "Hey, Spaz, I get that you're sticking up for this person, but also you're a really huge fan of this person. Of course you're going to stick up for them."
Yeah, this makes sense.
I am categorically not a fan of Nia Jax.
No.
But I still don't think she has anything to apologize for.
I can't stand the bitch, but
yeah,
she got nothing to apologize for there at all in my eyes. I agree entirely.
She's almost getting into that John Cena category for me of, like, I'm sure she's a wonderful person in real life. If I could sit down with her and drink a Smirnoff, we could probably have a fun conversation.
Absolutely.
I never need to see her on my TV again. Same thing goes for John Cena. Like, and that's
see, I like Cena too. I always like Cena.
Yeah, but I'm more accepting now of what he brings to the table. And I know that sounds super pretentious, but like at the time when we were at the height of the Cena-ness, right? I'm sure the guy's a wonderful guy. Look at all the stuff he does for Make-A-Wish. Look at all the stuff he does for this and that. I'm sure he's got 100 cool stories we could tell, right? Like I could sit there and I could toast a Smirnoff with him. I don't know what he drinks. It's fine. But that doesn't mean I ever need to see him on my TV screen again. When Nia Jax made her return, I was like, I don't really need to see Nia Jax on my TV, and that's
brandy.
That feeling that I sort of carry on right to today. But even though she's not somebody I particularly like, even though she's not somebody I particularly need to see on my TV screen, she still doesn't need to apologize for being part of the show.
Exactly. She didn't grab her daughter and punch her in the face and, do these horrible things. She yelled at the kid to make the angle stand out. Exactly. She's not going to wrestle her.
Oh, I'm an asshole. I actually hope Kenny Omega's doing okay.
I was going to say, why? Her daughter was an inflatable blow-up doll? But I missed that.
Oh, okay. No, moving swiftly on. So that was just stupid, and it was on the same show where all the Tiffany Stratton stuff was going on. So I thought,
but it's a good thing to bring up because as much as you don't like Nia and I don't either, I certainly don't see the need for her to apologize. No. I agree with you entirely.
See, you got trolls on the internet that are gonna get me behind her by default, and now I'm gonna kind of want her to win the Queen of the Ring.
I've never cared for Kenny Omega, and then recently he's been, during his gaming streams, going on in these slight tangents that have been quite sensical. And
I was going to say, he's been borderline pro-WWE in a lot of the things he's said in the past little while.
Pro-Roman, pro-WWE, pro...
I was going to say, he had a really good appraisal of Roman Reigns, and for two guys, and I'm not saying this from a better or worse perspective, from two guys that come at wrestling from two such different directions.
Completely different standpoints.
Different companies, different styles of wrestling, different styles of presentation, the whole bit. I mean, I don't think Kenny Omega has any other family in wrestling, whereas Roman is kind of like grandfathered in almost.
Yeah.
They couldn't be more different, so to hear him giving Roman what he thought of him, I thought that was really, really
praise
cool.
When people are being told not to watch the other companies, products.
Yeah, he literally said that because he called it out in the chat. The whole reason that tangent started is because he called out somebody in his chat. He's like, "No, I'm not going to have any Roman slander here."
Mm-hmm.
He put it out. I'm like,
great.
I got to stop using Kenny as the punchline because he's kind of winning me over too. But right now he's dealing with his health stuff and he's stuck in a terrible story that's based on CM Punk, even though CM Punk isn't there anymore.
Exactly. It's based on
God damn.
And now we're getting, to pay attention to that stuff. I don't get it. It makes no sense. Even Milo doesn't like it, all the time.
You know what else? You know what else doesn't make sense? Pulling a drawstring.
It doesn't. And Drew Gulak, led to a bunch of the social media empire falling and Triple H having to make phone calls to apologize. I mean, that really burned my ass and rubbed me the wrong way. I don't think anyone should have been apologized to in that situation.
Nope.
But, I mean, it really just, the whole thing is so frustrating. He went ahead during the press conference and basically said that, hey, wrestling reporters should get their story straight because it was being misreported that he was terminated or fired when really they just hadn't renewed Gulak's contract.
Here's my thing, though, right?
And I mean, it's kind of the same point. If you didn't let him go, you didn't renew him. That's the same thing in my eyes. But I get what you're saying.
I get where he needs to make the distinction, though.
Yes.
He, as the person doing the letting go, needs to make that distinction and make that distinction known. But I'm just going to say, in the realm of fake news, if you are a news outlet or even masquerading as a news outlet, and what upsets you the most is somebody telling you to check your sources, you're not a very reliable news outlet. And I'm not saying anything because I'm not particularly familiar with any one news outlet. I mean, I get 99% of my shit from No DQ and What Culture, and they get their shit from wherever.
Yeah, so usually it comes from Fightful or Wrestling Observer.
And see, like, I'll get it third hand, so I don't know whether these people are good or not good at their jobs. I'm not going to speculate.
Yeah.
But if all he said was, let me correct you on this, and just make sure you check your sources, that's fine. And also, how come Triple H never wants to talk about anything important? He's ducking and dodging all over the place. There's a YouTuber and a podcaster in our sphere, and I'm not going to mention him by name because I still do have a lot of respect for the guy. But I had to stop listening because he was putting the media scrums of AEW and WWE on the same level. It's like, well, Triple H and Tony Khan, neither one of them can handle a serious issue. So he was trying to do it like balanced. Yeah, but when Triple H does it, there's really more of a jerky element to it. And I'm like, so you're just digging WWE.
Yeah, you're just
and it is unfortunate when it's somebody that I do enjoy listening to. It's like, why are you going down that path?
Mm-hmm. And you know what? It's not even just that, but it's also, like you said, it's only the anti-WWE sentiment that stands, but it's really not even true most times. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. A lot of it is just miscommunicated or wrongly reported. I mean, that's really what it comes down to a lot of times. The fact that he had to call Sean Ross Sapp and apologize, and then Sean leaked that Triple H called him and said
gave him a gift basket or some stupid thing, right? And give him some cheese.
I
fucking Steve Urkel nonsense here.
Yeah, he basically said that he didn't accept his apology. Like, he was still like, he said sorry, but I don't accept it, kind of thing. And it's like, get over yourself. He shouldn't have even had to call you and make you guys seem bigger. And think about how much misreporting and hate and bullshit there is in the wrestling world to begin with. Of course,
yeah. So but here's the thing as well, right? And I know people disagree with me on this point, so I'm going to be careful how I say it. This is just my take on it. If you go to if WWE just has a general press conference, like, State of the Union, like State of WWE, like we're doing the State of Wrestling, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool. Go for it. Go hog wild, ask anything you want. If you are at the Backlash post-show press scrum and you're upset that Triple H is addressing the elements of Backlash and thanking the people that helped him put Backlash on and touting the positive results and positive impact on the neighborhood and whatever. It's the Backlash press conference. He's going to talk about Backlash.
Here's what kills me. 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, the same news people that he had to apologize to were all speculating that Triple H's name had to be involved in Vince's, settlement, the lawsuit that's ongoing with Janelle Grant. And, he has to be the other executive. He had to have known all this was going on. He had to have done, and they're all saying, he shouldn't be leading WWE. They all came out and said this. Every last one of them, insinuating and basically blaming Triple H for being part of this. And then guess what? They name everybody in the suit, and he's not involved.
Yep. And did he go out and lash out at all of them? No.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
And all he said was, I think they should better check their sources. He didn't say, that's fake news, that's bullshit, they're a terrible company, I hate these people. All he said was, I should check
You should check your sources. And as I say, if you're a news person, or a sports news person, or a media of any degree, right? And what upsets you most is somebody saying, hey, this is actually this, maybe just check your sources. If that is enough to bother you, you shouldn't be in that job.
No, absolutely not.
We're not that. We're just here flapping our opinions out here, and if somebody else is doing that, then that's fine. But if you're masquerading as news, and you're so affronted by somebody saying make sure you have good sources, you shouldn't be doing news.
No. And you know what's funny? I used to have people that would, talk to people at WWE headquarters. It's not exactly far from me. One of my best friends growing up, his brother is a delivery man, for Frito-Lay's. And he would stock vending machines and stuff, and one of the places he used to have to go to was Titan Towers.
Nice.
So he made it in with friends, people there. And, of course, the snack guy always manages to get a few extra, tickets. He always had something.
Yeah.
but he would always come back with some little tidbit, some bit of news. And that's when, when we could actually say things. And I remember Joe and I had said that Undertaker wouldn't be used at that year's Mania. And everybody went off on us. Oh, we're full of shit. Other actual news sites. How dare you say this shit? You're lying. You don't know what you're talking about. And then Undertaker never had a match at that year's Mania. They didn't use him. It didn't happen. It was the year after the Cena thing. Yeah. And he was saying he's ready to go and all this stuff. So we absolutely, positively called it. Had reported it as such. Could verify our source and still got shit for it. So it was like, it doesn't matter if you have it legitimate, because if people don't want to believe it, they're going to choose to believe it's fake anyways.
It's very strange. I mean, the whole thing stems from, obviously, the Gulak-Ronda Rousey thing. Ronda Rousey has reached the point in her career that a lot of wrestlers reach, where you've made the first half of your money in WWE and you make the second half of your money bashing WWE.
Yes.
It is what it is. She's saying all the things that all the woke idiots like to hear. She picked a random name that wouldn't cause too much of a scuffle. Like, if she's, Cody Rhodes touched my tit, they would be like, tell that story next door.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's Drew Gulak, who...
But it is weird that she singled him out, and on top of it, that he corroborated that something happened. So, I mean, he even said he grabbed her drawstring. I don't know. I've shaken a lot of hands. I've never had that issue where I've grabbed somebody's drawstring by mistake. Like, I don't quite get what... It just never made sense.
Well, he's a pretty little guy, so, like, not even saying this to be an asshole, but, like...
No, but did he run over to her to, like, be fun? He said he just went to go shake her hand and he grabbed her drawstring. So, basically, you're trying to pull down her pants, and then this is her meeting of people, too. I'm not trying to defend Ronda. I'm not trying to sound like Mr. Social Justice. I can just see how your first day backstage is meeting people, and then some guy walks up to you, a wrestler, and tries to pull your pants down from your drawstring, and you're like, what the fuck? So you think everybody's going to be like that, or are they all going to fuck with you? Or so I could see that becoming a problem. And it could have been something stupidly innocent as just a handshake, but you don't know, and it should.
You don't know, but she knows that the assumption is going to be against the guy.
Exactly. So no matter what, it doesn't matter what actually happened. No, it's the thought of what happened.
And what I love about it is, apparently, like, I haven't heard a lot of her, like, political views, but apparently a lot of people have been dunking on her for a long time for some, like, unpopular political views. But as soon as she left WWE and she started shitting on men and shitting on WWE, all of a sudden she's this great hero speaking for the downtrodden that we need to have on a pedestal and give a Netflix special to. Like, fuck me, right?
Yeah. She's here for the women. Make her number one. Make her book number one. Make her go, best sell. That's what they do. They wanted her to have that. And it could have been her trying to tell her tale, but now it becomes about an agenda, and that's the sad part.
Yep.
And we see it happen with, we saw the speaking out movement. There are a lot of shitty people in wrestling. There's shitty people in every career path, obviously. But the wrestling industry, for a lot of times, had two things really against it. One, the women were not treated like equals. And two, the sentiment of boys will be boys was carried on everywhere. And that's what happened until things really had to change. I mean, you had wrestlers shitting in divas bags and, just torturing people just because they thought it was funny, and they got away with it.
But the next generation gets to live on those assumptions and be like, even though the new generation isn't doing anything, well, people that came before you did it, so we'll just say that you did it too.
And that's the over-policing. There's that fine line that people just seem to tip over each time, and that's the insulting part.
Yeah, men used to do this, and you're a man, so you must do it too.
You must do it too. Exactly.
That's
the issue.
Then there is no trial of your peers in the court of public opinion, and you'll notice that's entirely where she's making her statement.
Exactly.
If this actually happened, go press a charge. And I know that sounds like massively dickish on my part, but you would have said something at the time and you would have handled it legally. You wouldn't have waited until you were out of the company and throwing a lot of slings and arrows at the company and throwing this on the fire.
Well, exactly. If this didn't upset you enough to talk about it then, now you're like, oh, I got a book to sell. What could be the best story for me to bring up. And like you said, it's someone safe that isn't going to ruffle feathers behind the scenes and get you in trouble.
Yep.
You know, like you said, she didn't say, "Hey, Roman Reigns tickled my gooch." You know, there's a problem there. No, it was Drew Gulak, and he pulled on my drawstring, and then he confirmed it, so it made it even more like, oh, this is a problem.
No, you know what it is? Remember how I said before, like the biggest claim against WWE right now is, well, Vince is gone, but we got to go after Triple H because Triple H might have known what Vince might have done.
Exactly.
But in her case, it's like, okay, well, I want to take a shit on WWE. WWE has a history of all these like really, really horrible allegations. If I throw another allegation on the pile, it'll keep that whole fire going. I'm like, well, you can fuck off, and you're a vulture then.
Mm-hmm.
And and we always come back to it, like, you're a vulture, you're going to tear apart this dude's life, you're going to put a ding in the company, you're going to make it way harder for people that have been through actual stuff. Because my thing is, as well, it's like when Tony Khan made the Harvey Weinstein comment, right? Like, that was just something to throw away. Now, you're talking about the other company, but you also have your own company. And there's probably people in both of those companies that have experienced some kind of assault in their lifetime. I don't want to speculate because that's
clearly
gross.
Something had to happen.
Right. Yeah. No, but like everybody experiences something, right? And like I don't want to speculate because it's gross, right? But you've got people on your roster and you've got people on the other guy's roster that have been through legitimate stuff, and you bring up the Weinstein stuff in such a jokey, I'm going to use this to take one more shot type of way. How do all of those people with those other like shared personal experiences feel about you as an opponent, or more importantly, as being their boss?
Exactly.
Like, you're making everybody feel gross because you want to get one more shot in at Vince because you can't get a shot in at Triple H, who's kicking your ass right now. Like, it all comes around to the same, like, we're marching in the same direction with whatever bullets we can.
Yep.
Anyways.
And that's the thing, like, you're right, and that's what it does come down to.
Let's talk about something a lot lighter. Because we went off on one there, and I had fun with it, and it's
absolutely the world. Some great points, and the
world
like
pisses me off. No, the thing is, Jake, you and I talk a lot. There's the things that piss me off in the real world that are out there. We can't really change. We got the whole man versus bear bullshit going on right now,
yes.
Right? But when the shit that upsets me or pisses me off or gets me wound up outside of wrestling infects my wrestling, it's like, no, this is what I watch so that I can pretend for 2 or 3 hours a night that bullshit doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Don't bring it here.
Doesn't suck. There's no reason
Don't bring
for you
it
to
here.
Bring it out.
That's it. So like everybody can fuck off.
Exactly.
So we got King and Queen of the Ring coming up. We got the 2 tournaments, the finals, and all that are going to come up. The marquee match on this card was announced last week, and it's Cody Rhodes versus Logan Paul.
And I'm all for it.
What do you think? I was going to say, what do you think of this? Because I've got so many thoughts.
I'm for it. I know the Saudis had requested this. I know they wanted Logan Paul there. I know they wanted him to be involved in some main fight again. This is the second time now that we've had Saudi interference in plans, I guess you could say, in some regard. Yeah. But that is what they're going for. So they went ahead and decided, hey, we want Logan Paul in a top build match. And they got him versus Roman. They had another Saudi match with him. And
because didn't they do him and Ricochet one-on-one?
I believe so. I know he's had 3 so far. That might have been the second one. But he had him and Roman, which was great.
Yep.
And now this. And he's getting these high-profile matches because as much as he sucks as a person, he's so fucking just earmarked for WWE. Yeah. He's so good.
Like, I hate to say it, and I always try to avoid saying it, but he is more engaging as a performer than some of the other people on that roster.
Absolutely, and he's natural on the mic. He's got that charisma, and fuck me, even if he has to practice everything 1,000 times, when it comes time for showtime, he nails it.
But that's the whole thing, is we're watching the show. We're not watching his practice.
And put it this way, he respects the wrestling.
Oh yeah,
you can't tell me otherwise.
There was an ESPN interview, and he broke it down pretty bluntly. And they said, "Well, what's WWE like compared to, I think it was boxing?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, WWE is a million times harder." And his whole thing was, when I'm boxing, I have to think about the guy in front of me. when I'm wrestling, I have to think about the person I'm working with. I have to get my commands from the referee. I have to think about what the commentators are saying about me, and I have to think about the 60,000 people in the arena and how they're feeling about what I'm doing.
Which way am I facing? Am I looking at the camera right? All these things? Yeah.
Well, he was doing it on a person-to-person reference, but yeah, he was saying that kind of thing. And it for somebody who is like, and I like I say, I didn't know who Logan Paul was before he got involved in WWE, but everything you hear, oh my God, he's such a terrible person, he's such a dick, and I believe that he is.
He is a shitty human being. I will give you that much. He is a very not great person. He did even recently some terrible shit with his former best friend George Janko.
Okay.
He was on his podcast and he made George look like a real piece of shit. He went ahead and had Bobby Lee on for an episode, and I guess Bobby Lee made a joke. George got upset and walked off the show. And You're like, wow, that's really unprofessional. Like, I can't believe George did that. It made George look like he couldn't take a joke and he couldn't, be part of the fun with things. Well, guess what? Bobby Lee put his dick on his shoulder and made him sniff it, and Bobby Lee went ahead and Bobby Lee kept, grabbing his dick, and Bobby Lee kept doing all these like crazy inappropriate things the entire time.
Nice.
Because that's kind of the comedy Bobby Lee has. All right, funny.
Okay.
And then he continued to just go off and go off and go off. So George, after dealing with everything for so long, had finally gone ahead and was like, I can't take it. Here we go.
No, fair enough.
And he walked off. But the edit that Logan put up protects the guest, protects the, that kind of thing. And he made his friend look like shit for a long time. And there was a lot more to it. I mean, that's just the base of it. Yeah. But, Logan always looks out for himself. And it's been proven time and time again. It happened with the Suicide Force apologies and stuff. It happened, with all the YouTube controversies. He continually looks out for numero uno, and he doesn't really care about anyone. But that doesn't change that he's great as a talent. He's great in the ring. He's
it's funny to say, because he's still, like, I don't know how much longer we can refer to him as an outsider, because I don't think he is anymore at this point.
No,
like, he's proven himself enough times. Like, he's just a guy on the roster now. But even before, when he still had sort of like that new guy, that outside, like, he's been a spokesperson for what WWE wrestlers do since he started doing it.
Yes.
And you can't replicate that with, like, a Randy Orton or a John Cena or whatever coming out and talking about what they do, because they're wrestlers talking about wrestling. This is a guy that's done like 100 other things, and he decided to give wrestling a try. I don't want to say it like that, but it kind of is.
Yeah, and he was in so many different things. I mean, he was doing TV shows, music, rap,
podcasting, boxing, but like, you
other
hear him,
sports.
and it's funny because he is such an asshole, and I've heard him do a couple of interviews, obviously, with other wrestlers and whatever, and even when he's interviewing, he kind of sounds sarcastic, and the one time he gets serious is like, no, these guys are the real deal.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, like, as somebody who doesn't necessarily give a shit about what he does on a podcast or in a boxing ring or whatever, like,
seeing
that's going to carry some weight with me.
Yes, absolutely. Right? He cares about something that I care about.
Yeah.
And he doesn't treat it in a joking way that most other people do. And a lot of people
how many celebrities have just said, "Oh, I'm going to show up and do a funny thing for a night." Mm-hmm. Even somebody like a Hugh Jackman coming in and like clotheslining Zack Ryder, or Schwarzenegger, roughing up Triple H,
or the Jackass guys. Any of them. Yeah.
Well, exactly. The Jackass guys, I think, is a little bit different because they were bringing their silly element to it.
True.
Logan Paul brought his asshole element to it, but like, you put the work in.
Yes,
and like, that's the difference.
He gave as much as he took.
That's the difference that I can say, like, to anybody. It's like, oh, but he's such a dick. How can you be a fan of his? Because I'm a wrestling fan, and he's a good wrestler.
Exactly.
Like, it can just be that simple sometimes. But here's my thing, right?
You don't have to like everybody on the team to root for them.
No, exactly.
People
Absolutely.
forget that, I think, at times.
Oh, that mentality has gone so out the window in the past, like, I would say 10 years. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's like the concrete example is always Chris Benoit.
Yes.
Chris Benoit, nobody's going to, validate or, say he should be in the Hall of Fame or anything like that. But the people that were like, oh, I never really liked him anyway. It's like, yes, you did. The guy was the guy was like a top 5 wrestler of all time.
Yeah.
Like, two things can be true.
One of the only pay-per-views I saw as a kid was when he took on fucking Triple H in Eugene's honor at Vengeance. You know, like I was so excited to see the Rabid Wolverine then and everything, and like, oh my god, it was. But it's like he was so over.
Day one, you see a 5-star wrestling match. Day two, you find out this terrible thing about somebody, right? Doesn't mean you can go back in a time machine and unenjoy the match you saw the night before.
For some people, that's the case.
But this is where to go back and rewatch it now.
No, not even to rewatch it. They feel like, because said person did X, Y, and Z, I now no longer admit that I enjoyed, and you know, that's the kind of thing.
Well, that's the thing, admit, right?
Yes.
But
because the enjoyment might have been there, but the admittance is now gone, because that makes you an evil.
But here's my thing, though, right? Other than the fact that it's the two people that it is, it's Cody Rhodes and it's Logan Paul. Outside of that, I'm mixed on how to feel about it, because one thing that Triple H has done really, really well is he's boosted the, whatever you want to call it, like the ambiance of the mid-card titles, like specifically with Gunther in the Intercontinental Championship, but not slacking very much with Logan Paul with the U.S. title either, to the point now where if a U.S. title or an IC title match isn't on the show, it's noticeable. Like you notice it. It is a gap on the show. So on the one hand, there isn't a United States Championship match at King of the Ring.
No.
Sorry, King and Queen of the Ring. But on the other side of the coin, what you're saying is somebody that holds this title could be at a level to fight the world champion. So you're elevating that title without it. So like you're missing a U.S. title match because it's only for one title. We specified that on Friday.
Yeah, champion for champion, not going down. Like they booked it as such at first too, which was weird. So
I think they made it intentionally like ambiguous, so that they could tell the story that it was champion versus champion, and then Logan and his evil lawyer, because lawyers are always bad, just took it away from us. I think that was intentional, and if it was intentional, it was a good move.
Yeah, because now Logan can not lose his title.
No. I mean the idea that in story wise,
it makes
the fact that it was title versus title was taken away from us by Logan Paul.
Yes. Yeah, that works perfect. And now,
but I don't think Cody Rhodes carrying the two. As much as he talked about being a Grand Slam champion, I don't think him walking around with two belts is going to add anything.
Yeah. It only works if you have it in a weird predicament, like, you know, it worked when they had Sting in briefly. So Rollins was the champion, then he won Cena's U.S. title because of interference from Daily Show host there, Jon Stewart.
And see, I think it only works if you've got two titles that are very different.
Yes,
and like in NXT,
was separated a good deal, so it worked out. But now they're kind of the same.
In NXT right now, like Trick Williams is the NXT champion, right?
Yeah.
If he fought, because right now, and I love this, Tony D'Angelo is the Heritage Cup winner.
Yeah.
If he fought Tony D'Angelo and he was like the NXT champion and the Heritage Cup champion, that works because those are two different things. If somebody's like a world champion and a tag champion, that works because they're two different things. But if you have two singles titles, especially on the same show, what do you do? Because those are basically two titles that you achieve the same way.
Exactly. And
so it doesn't work like that, and I'm sure they will eventually, but they're not going to put a world title on Logan Paul just yet. And they're not going to unthrone Cody Rhodes, especially because
not at this point. To take Cody off as champion from Roman without
and give it to Logan Paul.
Without a surefire like story behind it, because Cody could lose and chase again. That's not the worst thing.
Oh yeah, no, he will lose. He's not going to have a long title run.
I hope not. That's one of the things I miss from the Attitude Era is that unpredictability.
Yeah.
One of the things I don't like today is everyone having historic 1,000-day runs. You know, Gunther had it, the Usos had it, Roman had it, Asuka had it. Like it was just like everybody was having these.
I think with the Usos, you had the problem that you typically have with the tag titles is the tag titles aren't a story by themselves. They become part of a faction story, which is the same thing with the Judgment Day. It was the same thing with Undisputed Era back in the day.
Which is why I didn't hate them splitting up the titles. I know a lot of people were against
I don't hate it either, and I love the new belts.
I like the
SmackDown one's better. because they look a little bit more old school. But the ones that Awesome Truth have right now are pretty good.
They're good.
But
I like the unification of the theme for each side.
Yep.
Like Raw has the World side, and the others are the WWE side. So everything fits nicely.
But nothing has like the show name in it anymore.
Yes. So if they did switch for any reason, it's not going to be where you have to hand the belts to each other and look ridiculous.
Yeah. Like we say, and this isn't a dig. Let me be clear. Like right now, AEW has the TBS and the TNT titles, right?
Yeah.
They're not in a million years going to have the CW champion and the Fox champion and the Netflix champion.
We hope not.
All right. Anyways, that's enough of that.
There's always too many belts.
I mean, we're not predicting this match right now. I just wanted to get some initial thoughts because there's a lot of ways that you can get around that. We were going to talk about the Ricky Starks interview, but that's a big, larger topic that we might talk about at a later date because I know you got to go soon.
Yeah, I know, and
it is worth checking out.
Touch upon definitely listen to the interview if you have not heard it yet. And I mean, Ricky makes some great points, and he's just very uncertain about his future, and that's upsetting because
he's not being given any certainty. I think is the major thing.
Yes, and him feeling so just unsure. It really is the best way to phrase it. It is upsetting because he's shown so many times now that he can be something special. The audience can hate him. I mean, you look at him getting booed as tag champ, as a heel, and the audience can love him, as you've seen later down the road as well.
Yep.
He's been in both sides of
People
things.
are saying bring him over to WWE and feud him with LA Knight so that we can have The Rock versus Austin one more time.
Yeah. Hey,
I'm saying right now, we always have that conversation of, who would you pick from another company and put here, right? My moves right now from AEW wouldn't be any of the main event guys.
No.
It would be Starks, it would be Garcia, and it would be Guevara.
Yep.
And then
those are probably my three too. I mean, Daniel Garcia, it was white hot. They had a chance. Everything was going their way. The audience fell in love with him instantly overnight, chanting "You're a wrestler." When Jericho was pushing the sports entertainer stuff, and they could have gotten him over, and instead we got nothing from it. So
if I could pick a fourth, though, I would try to get back Aleister Black.
Yeah.
So bring back Aleister and then give me Garcia, Guevara, and Starks. That's a decent little wave over to our side. So I'm going to drop the question on you.
Well, really quick before you drop the question, one thing is you have AEW's own fans, the big supporters, talking about Aleister Black taking on Kyle O'Reilly this Wednesday on Dynamite.
Yep. It's
supposed to be part of the Edge storyline with Kyle helping Edge and Adam Copeland.
Sponsored by WWE.
Yep. Here are the three outcomes. These are the fans saying this.
Yep.
They said it never starts, and House of Black just jumps in before. It's a fun match, but Malachi takes one bump and tries, or Malachi takes 2 flat back bumps and throws on 6 headlocks. And that's what they're saying. And they're not wrong because he's not trying. He hasn't tried in a long time.
But if you're the House of Black, right? Other than the fact that they can go when they get a chance, they put on good matches. What are you being given in AEW to make you give a shit? Realistically, you're feuding with Edge. You're not going to win.
Yeah, exactly. And you should know that at this point.
I don't know, man. Anyways.
So your question, sir.
My question is about WrestleMania, kind of, and it's a two-part question because a lot, for the past few podcasts, you and I have been praising WWE to the hilt for the international shows that they're doing all over the world. Like I say, Berlin, Scotland, Saudi, whether you like that or not, France, Puerto Rico, Australia. So right now, I'm pretty sure we're getting to the point now where somewhere else in the world is going to get a Big Four pay-per-view.
Yes.
My question for you, and like I say, it's a two-part question. How soon do we get an international WrestleMania? And is WrestleMania in Saudi the last, oh my God, they would never do that scenario? Go.
All right, so I see us 2 years. We're going to get this Vegas one and possibly one more. But I think either the year after Vegas or 2 years after, we're going to see something overseas. I think possibly a second year. So not the year after Vegas, but one more after that, that'll be. So it'll be 43. So that's my guess for an overseas, probably in England, WrestleMania. I could see them doing, Wembley as well, or really going all out. But I think we're going to
really going all out.
Nice. You got that.
Nice.
But I want to go ahead and safely predict that we're going to get SummerSlam or the Rumble. I think the Rumble next year or the year after in Saudi. We're going to get that first, and then we're going to get Mania.
You think so?
Mm-hmm. Saudi wants the Big Four. They're going to get it. They've gotten everything they've asked for. They wanted Yokozuna to come back. They got that guy that looks like Yokozuna. They wanted Hulk Hogan. Guess what, brother? We brought him back from a racist tirade and brought him out there to cart. You wanted to see The Undertaker almost die by Goldberg? You got that too.
You want to see Kane's mask fall off?
You want to see Triple H injure himself and Sean's eye go more googly? Well,
that was so bad. What was it, the Rollins Fiend thing? We promise you there's going to be a winner this time.
Yes, we will actually have someone come out on top. We promise.
Giggity.
And Titus World Slide.
Oh
if
my
they can
God.
Give us that, then they can definitely give us a Royal Rumble. No, I honestly do feel, joking aside, that we're going to get a Rumble there simply because of the relationship just building and building. When they announced the very first show, and it was just after the Khashoggi stuff, and there was all this hate.
Yeah.
And WWE then, at the peak of all the anti-Saudi hate, chose to say, fuck it, we're staying with it. I don't see them ever going against it unless it turned into like a world war scenario. I don't think there's any real like political scenario right now currently, unless something,
because they did get held that one. Remember that one year that NXT had to take over SmackDown?
Yep.
So, they've been pretty close to, I don't want to say an international incident, but I don't know how else to phrase it. So, I don't know.
Problems. Exactly.
My thing is, outside of Saudi, the big thing with WrestleMania, and I hope other pay-per-views get to this part as well. The reason I don't see it going, obviously, it'll come to Canada again at some point. It's been to Canada, but that's still, I don't want to say it. It's close enough to being the U.S., to not really
it's
be
still
a
North
big...
America. It doesn't feel overseas.
But
it's out of the U.S., but it's not really. You're not flying. You know what I mean? Overseas. You're not.
It doesn't change the time zones for people, which everybody seems to hate.
Yeah.
But
which
I think
work in Saudi even as well. I mean, we've seen it with.
Yeah. But what I think is because WrestleMania is such a bigger thing. You get the SmackDown, you get the Raw afterwards, you get the NXT show in the middle of the day, you get both nights of WrestleMania, you get the Hall of Fame, you get the WWE World stuff now, the city themselves get a week of events.
Yeah.
It's such
They bring in so many
elements.
Dollars, for tourism and the economy. That's why places are paying out the ass.
Oh, yeah. No, but I'm saying, logistically for WWE, it's not I keep saying it because I'm going, right? But they're coming up here to do SmackDown, Money in the Bank, and Heatwave, right?
Yes.
That's that's a lot. That's 3 shows, but that's them planting their flag in Toronto for 3 days and saying, "Hey, we're going to go to the Scotiabank Arena 3 times." It's not that it's big for me because I'm going, but it's not as huge as it sounds for them. It's just their next 3 shows happen to be happening in the same building. It's not an entire week worth of fundraising and community outreach and WWE World and conventions and 2 nights of a pay-per-view plus a developmental pay-per-view plus Raw and SmackDown plus. It's a giant meatball to move to the other side of the planet.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would stay out of other places for any political reasons. I think it would stay in North America only because it's so much to move. You know what I mean? Logistically, it's a nightmare. I don't think they would do it for any moral, oh my God, we're going to stay here because America is the home of WrestleMania. I don't think it's as flag waving as that. I think it's just what a big task it is and what they can, you see when they go overseas now, they take, even when they had the big Trons, they took over the smaller Trons and the simpler rings with no LEDs, which actually look better. No LEDs. in France on the ring apron and on the ring posts and whatnot. How good did that look?
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes less is better, and I like that they're keeping the small screen. They're keeping the small screen even when it's not a flex, which is nice. The side note for me is I don't mind the international shows because a nice midday lunchtime wrestling show for me on a Saturday is pretty cool, and then I can still go out and do stuff.
I love how we go ahead and we see, on the anniversary of the curtain call, May 19th, 96, we bring this up now saying that, hey, wrestling's in a great place. I mean, we could also talk about May 19th for another reason. But
yeah, you can't talk about Kane, you get canceled.
Exactly.
He is such a terrible person. How dare he say nice things about the police? Oh, no, wait, that was his fake brother that said nice things about the police, so we're supposed to not like him. Jake, I hate the world, man.
You and me both.
I hate the world. Oh, man. But we covered a lot, and there's shit ton more coming.
Absolutely. So much more to come. And look, we've gone through quite a bit, but King of the Ring, Queen of the Ring, I mean, we have a lot coming up. And I'm telling you, I think this is going to change how we look at the future of the year,
Well, we got Netflix. We got Netflix on the horizon.
We do.
So that'll be the next huge page-turning thing. But I'm going to say, in the next little while, I mean, King of the Ring is going to be the best pay-per-view that weekend, and Battleground is going to be the greatest pay-per-view that Las Vegas is going to see in a long time.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, things are just on the way up.
Everybody thought that they were doing the NXT show in Vegas because they were going to wait until then to announce WrestleMania in Vegas, and then they just came out with it, and it's like, no, here you go. We're going to announce it during the Kentucky Derby for reasons. That was weird. I'm not going to lie. That was something else. Let's watch weird people in weird outfits watch other weird people in weird outfits on horses. Becky Lynch has a space helmet on. It's fine.
It's okay. She's just.
She had that really awkward interview with Michael Cole. What is that? It's a hat.
It's a hat.
Where are we going here? I don't know. You know what? The good end of that shitty segment was I like the fact that Liv Morgan's getting a spotlight.
Yeah, as they released her arrest footage as well for drug possession. So enjoy
nice.
The spotlight.
Why? Because why not ruin somebody else's life that's trying to put it back together?
Right. Law and Crime put out the full video, so go ahead and check that out on Facebook. Reels,
Disney just canceled Tinkerbell. Why not have WWE cancel Liv Morgan again? We are living in the stupidest timeline. We are living in the stupidest timeline. Anyways, I know you got to go, so tell people where to find you.
You can find me on the Joe Cronin Show here occasionally, and on Twitter at Countdown Ended, or on X, I should say.
Does your Twitter work yet?
No. I actually, somebody said if you get the what is it, like their monthly subscription or whatever, that's what fixed theirs. So I might bite the bullet and try it one of these times.
Oh, you might get your blue check mark?
I think I might just do it just to see if it fixes it, because just like Jack's Films, like it's the same idea. It says like my account's like in limbo. Like I can still access certain things, but I can't. I don't know. It's weird. So
we're going to end every single podcast on Jake's Twitter update until we get you sorted out. Anyways, and you guys know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz. He's been Jake. This has been the State of Wrestling. Subscribe up there. Talk down there. Start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, me and super sexy Jake DeMarco are tagging out. Bye, guys.
It's tippy time.